Good day, everyone. So I reviewed this vehicle a long time ago. It was one of my very first 164 scale diecast purchases. I can't even tell you who made it. It's unbranded. It's an unlicensed model, so there is no brand associated with it. But you can pretty much buy these 164 scale Rolls Royces off AliExpress or eBay, and they're really great models. I do love this thing, although this one did have a scratched windshield. Got some money back though. Anyways, the reason why I'm bringing up this video is maybe a few weeks ago I did a video on an original design called the Moon SUV, and boy, that was a hassle building an interior and all that stuff. But one of my viewers, and also he has a channel and he's in my subscriptions, the Quirky Garage 1999. He asked or suggested I should probably do a McLaren F1 in super deformed. The reason being is I love super deformed cars. Like this thing. This is a choro-q Nissan President, although it does have some 3D printed wheels. And my response was, I'm not going to bother doing that because there's a company called Finework, and Finework does a McLaren F1 GTR in super deformed, proportions. So I know how hard it is to make a model based on that Moon SUV. But a long time ago, I made a BMW Phantom 7 in scale miniature, and then I usually, post my stuff up on shapeways.com. But BMW has proactive lawyers that shut down all unlicensed activity. So there's one person in the world that has one of those models. He managed to get one before BMW pulled that listing down. So, sorry, you cannot buy a scale model of a Phantom 7 from me because, Shapeways won't allow it. But still, I love this car. As I mentioned, it's one of my first diecasts, and when I first saw this thing, I'm like, whoa, they make a 64 scale Phantom? That's when I got into collecting 164 scale models a little over a year ago. And then maybe a few months ago, I started collecting these choro-q things because, well, frankly, I'm running out of realistic vehicles that I want, but I do enjoy clownish looking things, so. Alright, so you might wonder, well, I was wondering, what would happen if I made this a super deformed vehicle? Let's find out. Okay, there you go, that's your answer. So let's take a look at some of these images here. I did make some tweaks though, one minor tweak. You'll see the original Phantom 7 just has two, squarish headlights inside of a rectangular headlight. And I do have two round lights back in there, but it was too boring to look at. The facelifted version of this car has a horizontal bar going across this rectangle, so I went and added that. So this is basically a first generation, Phantom 7 with the facelifted headlights put into it. Okay, so here's the side view as far as the foreshortening. I shortened this thing basically by 50%, or I cut it, it's basically half as long as it should be. That's what I wanted to. I could have done 30%, but I have a suspicion all choro-qs are around 50%, so I wanted to be along the lines of choro-q since I want to maybe someday make a diorama or something like that with all these cartoon things. Alright. So let's take a look at some of these details here. The paint itself is one of those Vallejo color shift paints. This is shifting between green and pink, I believe. So you can see in this angle maybe some pink, and then it turns green. Now, I had some resin, and it's resin, 3D printer resin that can be washed with water. And the settings I had for it were 0.05 millimeters, so 5 microns. And so that leads to all these steps here. Each one of these is a layer of printing. The roof and some of the hood I sanded down to get rid of some of those layers, but I didn't want to put the time into sanding this area down because it's literally recessed. I sanded up here. It takes a lot of work, I do have, 1 millimeter axles running through here. And then, these wheels and tires are 3D printed as well. I couldn't fit two R's. I just put one R into the center cap. You'll also notice there's some air pockets here. You know, as the 3D printer is printing in a bath of resin, some air pockets get stuck in there. So you actually literally have to print a bunch of wheels to get some good ones. This is the only good one here. This one also has an air pocket. Just didn't feel like doing it. Okay, then I wasn't going to put an interior into a cartoon car. I had a hard enough time with that Moon SUV. So these are just, this is one just solid body. I hollowed it out to save on some resin. These are all the support structures when it was, printed off my machine. And then I just painted these in metallic blue. And then after I painted the body and the windows, I clear coated it with rattle can paint. Then I added all the silver trim on top of the clear coat in case I messed up, I could wipe it off. Then after that, I clear coated it again. So all this stuff is underneath clear coat. So it's pretty durable, fondling it and stuff. The paint shouldn't wear off. So it took several coats of clear coat to get it to look this shiny. Boy. So yeah. Oh, another thing. It wasn't as easy as just taking a BMW Phantom 7 and shrinking it lengthwise. The reason why is the original bumpers would become too shallow. The original headlight buckets would become too shallow. So when I built the Phantom 7 as a regular looking vehicle in my CAD program like this, that probably took like 20 hours for me to duplicate this vehicle in a CAD program. And after that, I shrunk it down in half, and you can actually see, well, I'll show you later, never mind. After I shrunk it down in half, you can't just print it because the wheel wells would become ovals, because the wheel well itself would shrink down in half. So I had to put in all new wheel wells, all new fender flares, and then also I had to extend the bumper out further and also deepen the headlight buckets, these two headlight buckets further, knowing that I was going to shrink them down in half. I also made the door handles stick out a little bit more and also shrunk them down vertically because full lengthwise they look pretty short. But when you shrink them in half, they look proportionally a lot taller than they should be. So making super deformed cars is a lot harder than making a realistic looking car. In the TinyQ catalog, they say it takes them 3 times as long as normal. From my experience, that's not the case. It maybe takes between 1.5 to 2 times as long as normal. But still, that's a significant chunk of extra time to take a normal looking car and make it look like a cartoon car. So that's why not many people do it, and probably because not many people even want stuff like this, right? The majority of my viewers, you're collecting normal looking vehicles, but a few of you, 5 of you at least, like these sort of things, like me. Okay, so yeah, I think this turned out okay. But, all these 0.05 layer lines are, I don't know, they're not so cool. So I think I'm going to actually print them with the old resin I had that is washed with alcohol instead of water. This water resin is very soft. And I feel like I don't know, I just don't like it. So, you know what? Hold on a second. Let's... Alright, so I got some of that, old resin that is washed with water. And the reason why I like this resin is I can have a finer print setting. The other one I showed you was 0.05 millimeters. This is 0.035 millimeters. So it's a finer resolution. For comparison, this section here, at 0.05 you can clearly see all these layer lines. At 0.035 you can still see a few, you can still see them, but they're far less pronounced. Oh, another great way to see is on the back here. So 0.05, look at all these layer lines. 0.035, a lot of them start to vanish, because they're simply thinner. It takes longer to print this because you're printing more layers in the same amount of distance. This is a lot faster, this is a lot finer and longer. but you know, I'm in no hurry, you know, so I prefer. I would actually like to print as .01, but no one seems to do that. No one will give me print settings to do that, so I'm stuck with .035. So this is also a Vallejo color shift paint, but it's just blue to silver, meaning it's not really a color shift. It's just it's just a shiny blue metallic, really. It's not worth buying. If you guys are interested in buying color shifts, I would not get blue to silver. But this one clearly goes from green to like pink or something like that. So this is actually maybe a better color shift. But I just like blue for my Rolls Royce Phantom 7s. And I also have a realistic one in green already. Okay, so let's compare it to, you know, those card. Well, you know, let's first compare to this. So I shrunk them, you know, in half. So two of these is essentially around the same length as a regular size one. Granted, I extended the bumpers out a little bit, so. And then the width-wise is relatively close. You can really see the color shift now. So, there you go. Alright, now let's compare it to a couple other cartoony vehicles. Alright, so we'll bring back that Nissan President. There really aren't many super deformed, large four-door vehicles. So there's that one. This one is a choro-q Zero Crown Athlete, but it's not really a stately vehicle. It looks more like a sporty four-door, you know? It looks like a Camry. And that's it. That's all I'm aware of. I do have, hold on, a Cadillac. So this Cadillac has no branding on it because it was a freebie that came with some cans of coffee. It's a 67 Caddy of some sort. DeVille, I suppose. Coupe DeVille. It might be a convertible, but it's either by Suntory Boss or Kirin or Wanda, one of those coffees in Japan. But it's weird they don't brand stuff. I added paint detail to it though, and then I don't forget if I mentioned that it has 3D printed wheels. This just has some paint in the wheels. Okay, so that's it for my big four doors. Although that green Crown probably doesn't even belong in here. Alright. So I gotta put these into a proper setting here. Okay, well, these are entering the Tower of choro-q. These are my favorite choro-qs, and they're inside tiny cube cases. You know, these are the only two cartooned Phantom 7s in the world, I would assume. Since I can't really sell these on Shapeways because BMW's lawyers would just, you know, remove them from the Shapeways store. So I don't have time to sell these on my own. I have better things to do. And frankly, even if I had the time, I would just design a new vehicle. I'm not going to sit there and paint a bunch of these and resell them. So, you know, if you're really interested in having one of two models, I'm keeping the blue one. That's my preferred color choice. But everyone has a price. I guess I would sell that thing for $2,000. It took me around 40 hours to make that thing. It took around 20 hours to make the Rolls Royce. It took another 10 hours to modify it into a cartoon. And then it took another 10 hours to print it and paint it. So that's 40 hours of work. And if you think about it, it's like $50 an hour. How much would you pay someone to paint your house? How much would you... There's no way you're going to find a CAD modeler for that little money. So I think that's a fair price. And the green one, well, I don't really like the print quality of that, so I guess I'd sell that for $1,000. That's a pretty good bargain if you think about that then. Naturally, those numbers should alarm most people, but if you own a Rolls Royce Phantom 7, you shouldn't even think about it. Right? It's a drop in the hat for someone that owns a Rolls Royce. Okay, well anyways, I appreciate you guys checking this out. I'm not sure if I'm going to do any more super deformed cars. You know, my favorite car I can buy from Fine Work. And then Fine Work, they just have a lot of other cool castings you're gonna continue to try to purchase over time. They're quite expensive model kits in their own right. So, okay, well, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you later. Bye.